Good evening, viewers. Welcome back to yet another edition of Business Standard Bsmart case study competition. Tonight, we are gathered here to have a context to the February case study competition that we floated across the country. This was basically on the carbonated drinks and the way forward for them. Uh, but before we get into that in more detail, very quickly for some of the viewers who might have been joining in new for us, I would like to let you know that every month we hold a case study competition across the country on the Bsmart platform. Bsmart is basically education app, edtech app from the Business Standard platform. Business Standard being India's most respected business daily, where Bsmart caters to the management institutes and the students across the country with content which is topical and relevant and drawn from the news strength that Business Standard has. We provide news, views, webinars, Guru Gyan and Manager's Mantra videos, basically bringing in industry stalwarts, talking about relevant issues which are contextualized to the management education in the country. We also develop case studies and do topical case studies which are relevant for management education in the country. So to come back to tonight's activities, for February, we came up with a case study competition on the carbonated drinks, basically inspired by the fact that we all know that internationally we have two big global brands who are ruling the roost in the country. I'm not naming the two brands, it's very obvious. But in India, we've also seen in the past three very popular brands, way in the past, three popular brands who actually came up and challenged these global brands. Again, I'm not taking the name of these brands, but at some point, these Indian brands sort of died down. But in the recent past, we are seeing that one of the two popular brands is being resurrected by one of India's leading conglomerates in the country. And we are about to see some action in the carbonated drinks in India, at least, with the Indian and local market player coming in and again challenging the global stalwarts. So inspired by that, we sort of thought to bring in a case study competition on the carbonated drinks and basically opening up the third front of war. We typically know how the carbonated drinks have played out ad wars and marketing wars across the country and across the world. So we thought that if we add another element to it, an Indian brand coming into this arena and having a play. And this gives us the route to understand the Indian carbonated drinks, particularly when we are becoming increasingly conscious of the health and well-being things. Even the government is also sort of trying to push us towards more healthier consumption of food and drinks. So for that, we have got with us three very eminent people and most relevant persons in this webinar to discuss and take us through the landscape of the carbonated drinks in India. And I must say that, we couldn't have had a better panel than this, who are so relevant to the topic that we are going to discuss today. And for tonight, I'm your host, Arindam, who's heading the content for Bsmart. To come back to our panelists, we have with us Professor Dr. Rituparna Basu. She is the Professor, Marketing Area and Chair, Marketing of IMI Kolkata. To give a short intro, Professor Dr. Basu, I don't think your intro can be short. You have quite an achievement over here. She is an internationally acclaimed academician in the domain of marketing. Her stellar teaching and research journey, she has won global awards, including 3 awards in consecutive editions of ISB IV Global Case Writing Competitions, 2 awards in successive Seaman Emerald Case Writing Competition to date. Her teaching cases are taught in top B schools across the globe. Uh, Dr. Basu is currently is the Professor in Marketing Area Chief, Chair of IMI Kolkata, as I said earlier. She holds a PhD in Management from IIT Kharagpur and is an alumnus of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. Following a Bachelor's of Science in Economics honors and a Master in Business Administration, the gold medalist, she has also worked in the industry for 5 years, holding key sales and marketing positions. So, welcome, Dr. Basu. We are really delighted and excited to get insights from you in the marketing area of the carbonated drink space. I
Thank
think,
you, Arundam. Thank
yeah.
you so much for the wonderful and overwhelming introduction. Thank you very much. And I'm so happy to join such an esteemed panel today. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us over here, and indeed, we are looking forward to a great panel discussion. Our second panelist for the day is Mr. Rahul Kumar. He's the Deputy CEO of SLMG Beverages. SLMG Beverages is the country's largest bottling partner for Coca-Cola India and Southwest Asia, specializing in the manufacturing, distribution, and sales of the beverage. Uh, to give a short introduction of Mr. Kumar, he's an accomplished FMCG and beverages industry professional with strong experience in sales leadership, distribution expansion, and market development across the country. Solid background at Coca-Cola, he has worked closely on driving growth in the carbonated soft drink category, boosting retail network and expanding presence across urban as well as rural markets. Before joining SLMG, he has worked with the likes of Coca-Cola, Kohler, Kraft Heinz, and Amul. So welcome, Mr. Kumar. I mean, your introduction, your experience sort of gives us the excitement that you will bring a lot of insight to us, in the case study that we have today, particularly coming from Coca-Cola brand. So we indeed look forward to having your inputs in the overall carbonated drinks market in India. Our third panelist for the day is Mrs. Vrinda Singhal. She is a founder of Swizzle, another carbonated and cocktail mixing drink. Uh, and welcome, Mrs. Vrinda Singhal. You are actually going to become a competition in the carbonated drinks if you are not already one. And you're going to be taking on yet another, opening yet another front for, the global brands in the country. So, to give a short introduction, Vrinda was drawn to the hospitality, restaurant, and catering industry, which sort of gave her the push to give birth to Swizzle. In the capacity of co-founder of Swizzle, she leads product development, manages the finances, and makes strategies, oversees businesses operations. Founded in May 2019, Swizzle has transitioned from a specialist cocktail delivery startup to a refreshing twist to a traditional carbonated beverages. The brand is now retailing through leading platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, and Big Basket now, and BB Daily, BB Now, and is available across 200 plus premium retail outlets and 3,000 vending machines across major Indian cities. So we have a founder of a carbonated drink, we have a marketing professor, and we have the beverages person, Mr. Kumar, with us. Three persons who will going to attack these case study competition from three angles and give us a view on where we are heading in the carbonated drinks industry. So welcome all three of you, and thank you for taking the time out to be with us in this panel discussion at the Business Standard Bsmart platform. So shall we begin? I will just quickly give a format. We will going to have a quick panel discussion over here, and the end of the panel discussion, we will going to also announce the toppers of the three toppers of the case study competition for February. And we will also announce the March case study competition title and synopsis, along with the dates for the uh, the case study. When the case study is going to be launched tonight, as we conclude with the webinar, and then we will have the submission deadlines as well as the prize distribution deadline for March 2026. So, shall we begin? Then I would straight away go to the founder of the carbonated beverage drink, Vrinda. Vrinda, if you can give us, since you're a founder, you have done an extensive study of the carbonated drink space in India before sort of going and venturing into the space again. So, what do you think is the current state of the carbonated soft drink market in India when it comes to the competitive landscape? Because you've had the two global brands, you have an Indian
Right.
brand, which was erstwhile very popular and coming in, and we are seeing a series of local carbonated drinks as well, and particularly the space that you are in, which is a cocktail mixture, which is an evolving and an increasingly growing market also. So tell us about this space a little bit.
Sure. So if you say the Indian soft drink market is still dominated by the global giants only, but the structure is still fragmenting a little bit. So there are regional brands coming up. There are health position startups who are actually winning on the cultural relevance, the price agility, and also the distribution hacks. So if we are able to focus on these three things, yes, we are definitely giving competition to the global brands. Yeah, I would not say that these the global brands have to worry about us, about the smaller players coming up as of now. Not in the volume loss, obviously, but definitely that there is a mindset change in the consumers. So the young consumers are actually exploring for alternative solutions. So there, definitely we are to be present. We are present, and it will grow in the future. But right now, I would not say that yes, we are a major competition to them. But slowly, as the consumer grows, we will definitely be.
Right, understood. If I can go to Mr. Kumar, Mr. Rahul Kumar, who's the largest bottler for Coca-Cola. Mr. Kumar, it's a similar question. What is your reading of the space over here? Because you're the bottler for, the world's largest soft drink, the carbonated beverage drink. To add to it, basically, in the soft drink space, it's all about distribution, 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 right? Typical of the FMCG lingo. And where you have deep pockets, where you can create a distribution, the right bottling, and that sort of is the trick behind the game of being being the dominant player in this market. And do you think the local brands, the Indian brands, uh, will be able to ever match the deep pockets, the distribution strength? Because some of these global brands like a Pepsi or a Coke, if I may tell you, because they are very obvious names, they come with a huge legacy experience of playing the market, in the way you're supposed to. So, what is your reading? Because there is a whole lot of Indian brands also coming into the market. It fragments the market a little bit, but how do you see it?
I'll give you a few perspective, Mr. Bhattacharya. But first of all, many thanks for hosting this great session. It's a great pleasure to be in the company of Dr. Rituparna Basu and Ms. Vrinda Singhal. First, let us understand that the beverage industry, the non-alcoholic beverage industry in the country, sans dairy, uh, the value-added dairy segment, is is not very mature. Uh, Coke and Pepsi returned to India about 33, 34 years back. So if you look at Southeast Asia and countries like Philippines and others, there are countries where both these two large global powerhouses of beverages have been there for more than 100 years. But that's not the case in India. So in India, if you typically look at the per capita consumption, it usually is in the range of about about 40, for industry perspective, 40, 50, and that is the per capita consumption that we typically have. But if we really go to similar markets, let's say even in Latin America, the per capita consumption is about 400, 500, which basically means that every customer is having 1 to 1.5 servings every day. While if you look at our country, it is very fragmented and very small. Second learning, and also because uh, if there are two large business groups operating in various countries, there's a lot of knowledge that comes in from other countries. So we've seen, and more so in the case of China, is that once the GDP typically touches about $2,000 per capita, there's a kind of inflection which happens, and in the next leap, where the GDP per capita typically would go, you know, to 2x, your category consumption might actually move 5x. So we are in an inflection point where we expect the category to have explosive growth. Third point, which you also seen in many countries happening, while the two large business houses will continue to grow with their lead brands, and these are there are always certain categories, there are always niches where regional players and local players come and play. And there are examples of in some country, one person coming in and working on isotonic drinks, and that becomes a larger chunk of the total NARTD space. Or we have examples of another category, another country where, while these two large players were not working on tea as a cold beverage, somebody else worked on tea as a cold beverage, and it became big. So there's always there, while these two organizations will continue to build the infrastructure for growth, which is a lot of customer development, expansion of retail network, going to the villages and ensuring that there's a cooler present there. So while they'll expand the pie, there'll always be niches where a lot of regional players will flourish. So in summary, 3 points: we expect the per capita consumption is very low, and we expect it to go miles. We are at a situation where we can see industry having an inflection. And third, while the category expands, there's always room for both to grow.
So, Mr. Kumar, if I may say, you can correct me if I'm wrong or whatever. Uh, in fact, the growth and the rise of regional players in any market, for that matter, actually helps the global brands as well, because it helps the category to grow as a whole. It helps, as non-alcoholic soft beverages in the category, the drinks, as a segment to sort of grow and thrive. So it, in a way, it kind of helps that way, right? And going
Yeah, every
forward, probably what happens is the consumers have certain choices for
yeah.
different times of the day, different occasions, and all those things. But generally, the category sort of also thrives and grows that way.
Yeah,
It
every new entrant
indirectly
coming in.
helps
Yeah, every new entrant coming in puts their own monies, their own rupees, their own dollars, and it helps the category expand,
category to grow. Yeah.
thereby benefiting the entire pie.
Right. Yes. 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 So if I come to the next question, this is to you again, and and also to Dr. Basu. If let's say you're because we are dealing over here with the management students, the young entrepreneurs and young leaders who are going to come out today. So something specific to that, if you're saying that if you're a young leader heading one of the dominant players, let's say like a Coke, and just like Mr. Rahul Kumar is heading the bottling plant for Coke, dominant players, and if you see a new soft drink kind of coming and threatening your market share, uh, what are the things you should be doing to preserve your throne, or to preserve your market share rather?
Mhm.
So, Ritu, I'll start, and then you can join
Sure,
in. So I'll
sure.
give you an internal perspective. Typically, you classify markets as markets where you, your you, where your foundations are strong, or whether your foundations are not strong. So typically, in markets where your foundations are strong, your your lead brands have a certain amount of leverage. Your distribution is well grounded. You typically are hitting about 90% weighted distribution for retail and have decent presence in retail. There, you try and see if somebody if a new flavor or if a new subcategory is flanking your category, you say, I'll not make it a wide space. I will go and I will participate there as well. At the same point of time, while you are you have markets where your fundamentals are not very strong. So let's say, a state like Kerala, where I do not, where SLMG Beverages does not operate. But assuming if it was the state of Kerala, where we just have about 15% market share, in that market, we would not want to put in our scarce resources to fighting in the new flavor or in the new emerging subcategory. There, you would try and put whatever resources that you have in trying to protecting your core or trying to build your core brands, and further fight whoever is coming in with your core brands only. So typically, the approach changes depending on your internal strength, the strength of the competitor, the consumer preferences. Basic the responses are not very. I gave two. Maybe there'll be two more broad categories of responses, but yeah, it is not a one size fits all. Thank you so much,
Right,
Dr. Basu.
right. Dr. Basu, if you have.
Yeah. So, yeah, I pretty much agree with Rahul and Vrinda in terms of the carbonated beverage market in India. And the growth potential is also there, because I came across this report which said that we're expecting a CAGR of 4.64% through 2026 to 34, which is quite nice, because we are a nation with a huge number in terms of the population. So if we look at the absolute figures, it'll be great. But having said that, hypothetically speaking, if I were a leader in one of the dominant players, I'm not taking names, first and foremost, I will come to terms with the fact that the duopoly comfort is over. I will have to understand and measure my stance by not presupposing that I will have the duopoly advantage that I have been having for so long. Having said that, I would also, resist my natural instinct to panic, because I have deep pocket, I have a great distribution, I already have a very strong brand, which has made it across India, and almost, as a dominant player in the market, I have a certain kind of captive mind share already. Because this is a market where we are talking about go-to refreshments. It is highly dependent on disposable income. With rising disposable income, growing urbanization, brand loyalty is a game that these players have been playing very well over the years. And that's what has sticked for them for so long. Now, if I were to defend my position as a leader, as a dominant leader in the market, as opposed to the new entrants or the new heroes who are coming with very different nationalistic sentiments and stuff, I would have a four calibrated front approach. First and foremost, I totally agree with Rahul that I have to understand my core and I have to defend. So in terms of understanding and defending the core, I already know that I have the power of visibility, I have the power of distribution. I will not let it go. I will try and harness it as much as possible, and also look out for the price wars that I can expect. So one is defend. After defending, I will also, not after defending, I will also have to disrupt the market. And being deep pocketed, I have access to innovation, I have access to R&D. Why not come up with alternatives, healthier alternatives, more functional alternatives? And then I would also like to deepen my association with the youth, which has been the engine of growth for this carbonated beverage sector in India. So, and thankfully, the youth in India is still very brand conscious, and they actually rely, they actually rely on celebrity endorsements, and being deep pocketed gives me that advantage that I can afford the best of celebrities to talk about my fizzy drink. And finally, I think I talked about defending, I talked about disrupting. Third is about deepening the emotional connection. And finally, I would also have to differentiate, because I must understand that the new heroes will come with a fantastic positioning which will work as a niche for them. I I cannot stay put and think that okay, the nationalistic sentiment will really not play havoc to my share. So I will have to come up with alternative differentiation strategies, which is going to help me, uh, keep my or maintain the position that I have been, uh, having as a dominant player in a duopoly market. Having said that, I must also understand that the duopoly will not exist, has ceased to exist, and it will be a market which will be defined by culturally conscious marketing efforts.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Basu. I will stay with you on this thing because to some extent you have also answered parts of my next question. Now, for the next question, I will now bring in Vrinda into the discussion. Just like we sort of got to the point that if you are a young leader in the dominant brand, and how do you protect your turf from market share being eroded or being eaten up by some of the local players coming in. Similarly, if we look at the point that if you are a young leader or a young entrepreneur or a young manager, just like Brinda, you are sort of anchoring an emerging brand. How do you plan to disrupt the market and make your own space? Because I'll come to on a point that maybe at later point to contextualize. Some of the younger crowd of today might not be knowing it, but in India, we have had three very top carbonated drinks brand, which at one point kind of literally threatened both Pepsi and Coke at some point. If we know, you recall the names Gold Spot.
Mhm.
Okay, Gold Spot was one. Campa is the other one, and the third one, which still exists, but under
Thumbs up.
the big brother, which is Thumbs Up.
Thumbs up.
So these are the three ones that we have actually seen sort of coming and breathing down the neck of Coke and Pepsi. So to come from that context, if I may ask that, if as a young leader, Brinda, your role, how do you sort of plan to disrupt the market and make your own
Yeah.
space?
Yeah. So I would like to say, so basically at this stage, you don't beat the giants at scale. So definitely we don't have the pockets to beat them at scale, but definitely we can beat them at relevance. So, but what I mean by relevance is that there should be a sharp consumer truth. So if you might have noticed that there is a lot of label reading that has been going on. So basically what goes into the product, what is being added to the product, and people don't want numbers anymore. They want something that they can actually read. So basically, a more cleaner label, more consumer truth is required. That way, we can disrupt the market. Then, secondly, I would say maybe more faster innovations. So, in a small scale, when we are at a smaller scale, it is more easy, more faster to innovate. So that is another thing. Basically, bringing up new flavors, more relevant flavors is something we would do. And thirdly, I would like to say that winning over specific channels first. So rather than diluting, going everywhere and being trying to be present everywhere, like focusing on certain channels, building trust there, and then expanding slowly and steadily. So basically, building depth rather than building width first. So these are the three things that I think we focus more to disrupt the market.
Brilliant, Brinda. It shows that you are the right entrepreneur moving in the right direction. Clear thoughts. Dr. Rituparna Basu, if you may come
Yeah,
in.
I think I totally resonate what Vrinda said, but I would add my 2 cents to it. I think, as I mentioned in my response to the last question, that niche positioning is going to be very important. And by niche positioning, I would mean something like, bringing in local flavors, having a more regional identity, maintaining a price point. I think price is going to be a major game changer over here. Um, Especially if you can hold on to that 10 rupee packs. I think that's going to be a major game changer and a major threat for the global giants. In terms of distribution, I think quick commerce is going to change the landscape in a huge way. And the quick commerce platform has democratized distribution to some extent, especially if you're talking about the urban markets. And for the emerging players, that could be a fantastic advantage to leverage this rapidly growing quick commerce segments and look at deeper penetration into micro markets. And the third point would be about creating an emotional pool. I think players like Vrinda and I have seen Hector Beverages. They are doing a fantastic job in terms of creating an emotional pool with the younger lot, and that's going to be a game changer again. If you can hold on, because there you don't need celebrities, you just need a stronger storytelling and perhaps a stronger connect that will keep your younger audience engaged with you. And there are many ways of doing it. So I'm very hopeful for the emerging players as well.
So brilliant. What we sort of understood till now is that clear focus of the market, the niche, the segment that you are in, creating your own sort of sub-segment within the broad category, focusing on distribution. Yes, quick commerce kind of helps the startups and the newcomers to sort of quickly get into the distribution space. They're able to penetrate the markets faster than on a physical thing. So all these are there, but coming, in fact, this is part of my next question to Rahul and Dr. Basu. Uh, the beverages market, the carbonated beverages market, is also about huge spends in marketing and advertising. They spend a lot of money into it. And there are
Notorious.
there are also ways of playing this market. The every now and then the iconic wars, the ad wars that we have seen between Pepsi and Coke, it has actually benefited both of them, right? It's sort of gives a huge recall. People are swayed by their brand wars and all, and it actually helps both of them. And sometimes, not sometimes, it is sort of proven that they actually indulge in these brand wars purposely to sort of get mileage out of it, both of them. So that happens. Now, that means you have to spend a lot of money. You have to have the guts because of, being the huge, big brands that you are. You can take on another one because there are legal issues, or a lot of things, a lot of spends that go behind the scene. Uh, Now, my question is that do you see a third front, similar third front being opened up by players like, let's say, a Swizzle, or some of the others, like, let's say, as we said, that Camper is now getting resurrected by the Reliance Group, and they're coming in, though they have deep pockets and all. But do you think that they will be able to sort of get into that third front, the ad wars, that the third player comes in, between these two, and sort of helps in gaining market share?
Um, I can give a very brief and short answer to this. Yes, I see it coming. To be very honest, I see a third front emerging, and it is imminent. Uh, let's let's just accept it. But having said that, as Arindam has very beautifully talked about the notorious ad campaigns during the duopoly era, I don't see the same kind of ad wars happening anymore, because that was an era where we were still very, you know, very dependent on TV. That was an era of a totally different media game. Right now, we are in an era where media has been democratized, where there are umpteen number of alternatives to reach out to your target audience. So while I say that I see emergence of a third front, um, I don't see it as a complete communication game or a communication war. I would see it as a mix of a multi-pronged strategy with, competitive pricing, a stronger positioning, and a micro level distribution which concentrates on getting into micro markets, micro segments of the markets, getting in, deepening, capturing them, and getting to the next one. That's what I see. I think a fantastic case very recently happened of No Control, which entered the Indian market last year. I mean, just a couple of months back. Um, I see it going very non-traditional in terms of its approach, getting into a very sub market segment, a small market segment, trying and capturing it. So it'll not be about, as Vrinda has pointed out, it is not about you know uh, winning with scale. It'll be about winning with mind and a whole lot of emotional pull with smaller segments and trying and snowballing around it.
Right. Rahul, you would like to say about,
Yeah.
because
So, to be fair, the way we are structured, advertisement is part of my previous organization, the Coca-Cola company, and not the bottlers. But still, few large pointers where I would, agree with Dr. Basu. We did see the third front bring in brand endorsements and and movie stars, and cricket assets in terms of IPL teams. So that front is. So of course, that is part of the way the category operates at scale. So
right.
that will be there. But then again, the way Dr. Basu said, the media has been democratized. Even a middle-aged man like me would not have seen television in the last 15 years, barring whenever there's a cricket match. So it is these days, and typically the way Coca-Cola company is now operating is how much are you present digitally? How are you engaging with the Instagram influencers of the world? How are you managing to have user-generated content? So, for example, if you launch a pack, a new pack, not even a new brand, a new pack, how does it get captured by not only consumers but retailers, distributors, and how is the organic content getting developed? Because that is also part of the consumer dimensions of acceptance, awareness and spot awareness. So it's just that the medium has changed, the
True.
fundamentals are the same, the medium has changed. That gives a strong advantage to Vrinda and any person who's wanting to come in a niche. It is no more a situation where a content could be created only by an big troop, like, through a star. A person with an iPhone can create a content and can be sure that they stand equally bright chance of gathering millions of eyeballs as compared to some paid creative agency. So in that sense, the world has changed a little bit, giving more power to upcoming brands. That is my take here.
So great, great insight, Rahul and Dr. Basu. I mean, I think you guys have hit the nail, right over there. the whole media landscape has changed. So gone are those days of, those big brand wars that you used to see splashing on the newspapers or the electronic media like a TV channel or everything like that. It's been broken down. It's more of, very targeted, niche, and oriented towards the consumers, to get more eyeballs, get more influencer driven and all those things. Fantastic ideas. Which sort of in all these ways I get answers to my subsequent questions and all those things. Now, there is one question which I would like to conclude with this panel discussion to all three of you. Overall, we are seeing globally as well as in India, and India being, demographically a younger country with a very young population. We are talking about the millennials and the Gen Zs. They are increasingly getting aware of the of their health and being and well-being, right? No sugar, more health drinks, no carbonated drinks, and in fact, some of the times, the branding, the way, the brand ambassadors or some of the iconic figures react on screen can snowball into negative impact for carbonated drinks, like for a Coke or somebody, where we know about a footballer, pushing away the Coke bottle on the screen. So these things happen. So there's a health awareness, being, and along with the state sponsored, like, the government also increasingly moving towards that and all those things. To your mind, if young entrepreneurs or young MBAs or, executives, they have to, how do you see them uh, getting attracted to this sector? This carbonated drinks, Coke as a sector, or Pepsi, or let's say a Swizzle as a sector, right? Because you're still in the carbonated drinks, right? So how do you see young executives and all getting attracted towards this space?
So I would like to say that there is still a lot of scope in the supply chain innovation. We are still operating on the old, like not older, I would say, older methods of supply chain. So these there is a lot of scope in the supply chain innovation. And then secondly, there is a lot of like data consumer insights which you can get from like quick commerce and the Horeca segments and the vending segments as well. So a lot of the new people can actually work on these things like the data consumer insight. So what time, what people are consuming, what is being like more, why the preference is changing. So these skill sets will definitely be required in the game going ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Basu?
Okay. I think Rahul, in his opening remarks, had talked about an inflection point that the landscape is currently in. And I totally resonate with that. We are at an inflection point. If you look at the carbonated beverage market in India, uh, we are expecting new opportunities and major shifts towards more functional products, um, healthier alternatives, as well as local offerings. Having said that, the attractiveness of the market as a potential employer for MPAs, I don't see it dampening as much as a lot of people might be saying. Um, because the sector has its own attractiveness. There's a whole lot of, because of the whole idea of getting into distribution, managing supply chain operations, being so you have to be on your toes. I think some of the skill sets, some of the traditional skill sets which have been mattering will remain there as crucial skill sets, but there will be some emerging skill sets which will also change the way that the new cohort of MBAs who are coming out of the institute, they'll see a huge opportunity in this market. One of them is, we were talking about celebrity endorsement and media democratization, and I missed out one point. AI is also going to change the
Absolutely.
game.
Yeah, I was coming
So
to
you're not
Yeah,
that.
disappointed that, yeah.
we have not spoken about AI, and AI is going to be a real game changer. Would you need celebrities anymore? So the deep pocketed players has been leveraging on their deep pockets, on their budgets, on their extreme budgets to get celebrities. But the new players, they have AI, right? So I see new graduates or fresh graduates, MBAs, they would seek such opportunities in product development, product testing, customer insight management. A whole lot of new skill sets will be required, and that would make this landscape extremely exciting for someone who is looking for a rewarding as well as challenging career.
Right, but a lot of it might be taken up by AI itself. I mean, if I can quickly get a viewpoint from Rahul, for young executives and all, like you maybe 20 years down the line, uh, as becoming a CEO or a deputy CEO or somebody who's going to helm the plants and all, with AI also right beside you. How do you see these young management graduates sort of getting into this sector?
So I'll talk about it, and then I had a point on some category preferences that you had talked about earlier. So first of all, uh, any new tool or any new input that comes in that drives efficiency for human beings as a race is always welcome, because it has always helped us. Uh, you know, Imagine what a spreadsheet did to all our calculations that we used to do by hand in a very similar manner. Assuming you're a manager of a particular state, and you want to look at and of the 10 levers that you think is going to impact your volumes, and you're trying to do a volume projection, you would leverage AI, because there are certain things which you could ask AI to tabulate and give an answer to. So let's say, what is the kind of weather projections that is happening. Certain data is, of course, it will come through syndicated research, which is Nielsen's of the world. There'll be certain data which will come from consumer research, which will be paid for. But there's still so much of data which impacts the business, macroeconomics, local conditions, weather conditions, how the general state economy or the district economy is doing as compared to the rest of the country. There's so much data, and if you want to possibly go through all that before you do your planning exercise, it is going to be much more difficult. And then we see young graduates, very much like you, just a few years in from management institutes, trying these tools and trying and adopting, a Perplexity or a Gemini, to say, how could I do something? How could I do one analysis which otherwise I would have taken 4 hours to do? How could I do it in 4 minutes? So that's adoption of the next set of technology to ease your business. Second part, one part of the business is always going to remain physical, which is this goods will have to travel physically. And at the end of the day, when the consumer is traveling on an expressway, and if he's feeling thirsty, he'll have to stop and buy the physical product. So there are certain things which are always going to remain physical, which will not which will not move and
No, cannot be replaced. Yes.
happen digitally. Going to one of the questions which Mr. Banerjee had asked earlier to Rinda, how do you see consumer preferences changing? Now, we hear a lot in newspaper, but one of the most important things of marketeers or business leaders is having a very close ear to the ground. And if you keep a very close ear to the ground, you'd see that post-pandemic, beverages as an industry has, for most years, outgrown FMCG very easily, and by far. Why is it so? Again, the same point. Dr. Basu also repeated, we are at a place where we are at an inflection point. Our per capita income is very similar to sub-Saharan Africa, though we are slowly entering up a prosperous phase. So there are certain things that are happening there. But then Again, there was one question about choice of categories. The choice of categories, I think the young generation, especially your audience who's right there right now, one one of the subcategories which is being really lapped up by them is something called energy. And at a certain point of time, 5 years back, energy only meant Red Bull. Now the energy sub segment within the NARTD space is again, subcategorized into a super premium, a premium, an emergent, a mass,
Yeah.
a recruitment. So this is what happens. A category which 5 years back was just about there with one brand sees a plethora of brands coming in. Somebody trying to recruit from carbonated beverages, somebody trying to go to the premium end and offer differentiated solutions. So I think if if you have the right ideas, if you have ears, to the consumer,
The ground.
business will always be there and always be sub segments that the consumer will be willing to buy.
Right. Thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of this panel discussion. Great views, great insights. We have had a fantastic Vrinda talking about, how she is driving Swizzle. We have had Dr. Basu giving us insights into, the marketing aspects and, how the ad wars will going to play out at some point. Rahul, you have given us, all the ground rules and, the ground insights of how a carbonated drink should be playing in. Thank you so much for all of you, being here. We come to the concluding part of our conversation over here, which is the announcement of the winners. We have three winners from across the country, or rather, we have two first and second winners from the same university, SGT University, Gurugram, Haryana. We have Kumari Sakshi, who's stood first from SGT University. We also have Nitin Panwar from the same university, who has stood second. And the third position has been taken by Jayashree Das from lovely professional university, Fagwara, Punjab. So please welcome three of you. We would quickly ask each one of them, first Kumari, then Nitin, and Jayashree, to say two words very quickly. We are almost, running out of time now. So yes, Sakshi.
I would first like to congratulate all of the prestigious members of the panelists that you have provided with such opportunity to showcase my insights upon the case study. And I was very much helpful and gained the insight from this discussion as well. And I was very grateful of this opportunity. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi. Nitin? Is Nitin there? I don't know if Nitin is there. Okay, we'll come to Jayashree then.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, hi.
So, respected panel members, dear esteemed guests, and my fellow participants, it's truly an honor for me. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
It's truly an honor for me to secure second position. First of all, I would like to thank my university, and secondly, Business Standard for providing this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. Jayashree Das from lovely professional university.
Hello, everyone. A very good evening. My name is Jayashree Das, a first year MBA student at Lovely Professional University. It's an absolute honor to be here. And first of all, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to my dean, Mr. Rajesh Verma. And Bsmart has provided a phenomenal platform to test these theories. And thank you to the judges for this recognition and to everyone at Bsmart for a seamless online experience. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you so much. So we will conclude with the announcement of this month's March case study competition. This time again, we have another very big brand with us, which is Maruti, India's largest car maker in India, who has sort of got into the EV space rather late. So the title for this month's case study competition is How Can Maruti Make Up for Its Late Entry into the EV Sector? Basically, we know that it has come and launched the Vitara when we have the other players who have sort of gone way ahead in the EV sector, but we have still had the largest car maker in India getting into that space rather late. So the question is, how does it make up for its late entry into the EV sector? And that is the case study competition. We will have people submitting cases from across the country. The timeline, we are launching it tonight. March 16th is the submission deadline. 31st, the results will be declared, and April 9th, we will have the prize money distribution. Top 3 winners will be featured on Bsmart platform, and certificates will be issued to all eligible participants. With that, we conclude this month's webinar. Thank you so much again, Dr. Basu, Rahul, and Vrinda, for taking the time out and being with us on this exciting and such an insightful discussion on the carbonated beverage sector. Look forward to having you again at some point. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and wonderful to get connected.
Thank you. Thank you.